All right, let's talk a bit about Excel and its screens. This which we have right now in front of us is the main Excel screen. This is usually the screen you get when you first start Excel. What you have here on the left side is simply a series of functions. The most important one is this one that says open other workbooks. This is what you use to open an Excel file from the start. Now on the right hand side we have all these little pictures. These are called thumbnails, and they link you to files called templates, which are ready-made templates that Excel has. Most of the time I don't use these. I start with a blank workbook, which we do here. This first thumbnail says blank workbook, and if we click on it, we get a blank Excel file. This is Excel's main work screen, and this is where you do all the work in Excel. Let's talk a little bit about this screen so you get familiar with it. The first thing we have is the main work area, which is this central area that's in white here. This is the area where we're going to type in our data, our formulas, where we're going to see our graphs and everything we generate in Excel. As you can see, this thing has a series of columns, which are these little symbols up here. They're normally letters. And we have a series of rows, which are normally numbered. How many rows and how many columns do we have? Well, we have a lot, probably way more than we're ever going to need. But that's no problem in Excel. And up here, we have the quick access bar, which is this little bar up here. The most important feature that we have here, we have the save button. We click here in order to save our Excel file. We also have the undo and the redo button. If you ever make a mistake, you press undo and it sends you back to where you were before. And if you decide that what you did was actually correct, you press redo and it sends you forward to where you were. Notice that the quick access bar has a little arrow here on the right hand side. What this does is it brings up a drop down, an additional menu that has additional functions. So what we do, if we click here, you can select what functions you want in buttons on this taskbar. For example, I can press new and I get a new button, and I can press open and I get an open button. So I can customize this taskbar to my liking, and I can even drag the buttons around a little bit, reposition them, but I'm going to leave it like this for the time being. Now this second area that I have here, this is called the ribbon. The ribbon is what you used to call your menus before, only that Microsoft changed the name starting, I think it was in 2007. But anyway, this area here is where you're going to find all the functions and all the buttons that you need to use in Excel. Right here, as you can see, you have a series of menus up here: file, home, insert, page layout, whatever. And every time you click one of those, you get a different series of buttons on the ribbon. So that's how you move around in Excel and how you select and find the different work functions. You simply click these menus. Okay, if you were paying attention a couple of seconds ago, I clicked the file, and when I clicked file, I got back to this, which looks a lot like the startup screen we were looking at a couple of minutes ago. But it's actually not the startup screen, but it serves the same functions. You can open files here, you can create a new file, you can save files, and here is where you can print your files. So this file menu has to do with everything for saving, opening, creating files, printing files. Down here on the bottom of the screen, we also have some additional functions which are important in Excel. This little white square here is called a tab. And what these tabs do is they represent different pages on your Excel sheet. An Excel sheet can have one page, which is this one that we have here, or it can have several pages. If I click on this plus symbol here, see, I get more pages in my Excel workbook. Each Excel file is called a workbook, by the way, and each one of these is called a worksheet. Okay, remember that difference. Your Excel file is called a workbook, and each page is called a worksheet. And you access your worksheets by clicking these little tabs down here. This here is a scroll bar. You use it to move left and right. This here is another scroll bar. You use it to move up and down. Now these bars are going to get bigger and smaller depending on how many columns and rows you have on your Excel spreadsheet. Right here you have the status bar. Notice it says ready. This thing gives you different messages about what's happening in Excel. If you're doing a really big calculation, this thing's going to say calculating, or if some kind of error occurs, you're going to get an error message down here. So if something starts to misbehave in Excel, or if you don't really know what's going on, simply look down here to see what happens. And it should normally say ready, which means that Excel is ready to accept a command from you. And down here in the lower right corner, we have all these buttons. These are view control buttons. They change how Excel displays on our screen. Now this is going to change how we view our data, but it's not going to change the data itself or how it's printed out. We have several functions here. This first button is called the normal view. This is the same view that we have on the screen right now. This second button is called the page layout view. And what it's going to do is it's going to show us our worksheet, how it's going to be printed out, like this page by page. So I can see what page a certain row and a certain column is going to end up on. I can see, for example, that row 12, column P, is going to end up on this page and not on the first page. That's useful for seeing how our printout is going to turn out. A lot of times you have no idea where your data is going to get printed out, if it's going to be on one page or multiple pages. This is a good way to check it. But the best way to check how your printout is going to come out is to use this third button, which is called the page break preview. The page break preview simply gives you your worksheet and it shows you where the page divisions are. As you can see here, my page is completely gray. That's because I don't have any data on it. But if I type something into the page, I start getting page indicators. This thing tells me what data is going to be on page 1 and on page 2. And from the page break preview, I can also adjust the size of the printed page to get more data or less data on each page. But we're going to talk about this a little bit later. For now, just remember that this is a way to change the view on your page, and it's down here in the lower right corner. Finally, this is a zoom bar, and what it does is it makes your worksheet look bigger or smaller. As you can see, if you put your worksheet too small, you can see more or less where the data is, but you can't see what it is. If you put it around 100%, you're going to see your data clearly, but you're going to have less columns and rows. You just adjust this to the level that's comfortable. If you're projecting your workbook onto a big screen, you'll probably need to bring this to a lower zoom level. Some projectors don't scale right, and you simply adjust here to get the picture right on the screen. Normally you use this around 100%, and that's more than enough to work. I don't know, some people like to use it around 90%, 80%, but usually 100% is just fine. Thanks for watching this video tutorial. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and to visit our website, cubicleoverlords.com, for more instructional videos like this one.